We're good.
All right. Welcome to the Forward Club. Thanks for joining us, whether you're here in person or if you're watching at home. This is our kind of annual postseason town hall. I had a record number of questions here. We've got, I think, 7 pages of questions. We'll do our best to consolidate those and get through them efficiently. Some on the technical side, some on the business side. And then we'll obviously open to questions for those here as well. I want to start by thanking all of you for your amazing support.
I think you guys are good now.
All right,
Maybe not. I think it's from my computer, though. I think you guys should be good now.
all right. You good? You back?
Is there a different way to do this? How about now? All right, so we're back. So turn it over to Matt to make a few comments, and we'll get into questions.
Yeah, just I wanted to first and foremost thank the club, thank the ownership, thank all of you guys as fans, the players, and my coaching staff as well. It's been a good season. It's been a season that I felt like we made a lot of strides as a club, but I'm also in having the feeling that there's a lot more. There's a lot more that I want to do. There's a lot more that I think we can do as a club to improve and to win championships, to become consistent winners. So the reason why I'm back is because I love it here. I love the club. I love everything about it. The fan base. It's been fantastic. It's been an awesome experience, but I want to be clear that, as happy as I am to be back, I'm coming into this, and my staff and whatever players are here with me, we'll come into this with a chip on our shoulder and with the idea that there's unfinished business and that, that there's something to prove. There's something to gain still. And, so I'm really excited to be back and appreciative and grateful for the opportunity. That goes without saying, but I would also say that the caveat is we're a little bit angry. We're a little bit hungry still, and that's the idea that I want to continue to have here so that we can continue to sustain success. So overall, fantastic season. Overall, very pleased. Overall, with a lot of strides that we made. Obviously, we've been able to make progress in each year that I've been here. And the expectation would be to do it again. The expectation would be to do it again next year. And that's the goal. And when you go into something with that idea, with that hunger, I think you're always the better for it. So again, big thank you to all of you, to the club in general, and I'm really excited to be back at Fort Madison, for years to come, hopefully.
Great. We'll hop right into questions. There's want to thank everybody for. I thank most people, not everybody, but thank most people for submitting their questions. We'll just leave it at that. But we got a whole bunch here, so we're gonna hop in and then we'll open it to the crowd. I always enjoy the in-audience questions as well. All right, a lot of people asked about where are we on an update to upgrades to Breeze Stevens Field, along with USL Super League, the First Division Women's League coming to Madison. And so, an update on that, where we are. You probably saw that the city of Madison passed a referendum. The citizens or residents of Madison voted on that referendum to increase the tax levy to fund, continue to fund the city government. The city has been fairly focused on that over the last 9 months or so, and so we're excited to, in the near future, kind of rekindle conversations with the city on what the future of Breeze Stevens looks like. Our current lease goes through 2029, but obviously, we have visions, and I think the city shares those visions on significant renovations to the facility that would allow us to bring women's soccer here. We're still committed to bringing women's soccer here, and that's a focus of ours. But I would say over the next handful of months, we will firmly re-engage with the city on that conversation. And what I would say to you guys, just candidly, is while the desire is there, these things take time. And it's not due to a lack of interest that it hasn't progressed. It just takes some time, and we're ready to roll up our sleeves and get back to work with the city here in the real near future. Is there any, next question, is there any idea of how the league will be structured with the expansion teams coming in next season? So a couple teams, one team headed up, a couple teams stepping out, 5 new teams in. So it looks like we'll be at 14 teams. I think the basis of the schedule will be some kind of balanced schedule. It will be the kind of basis. But with 14 teams, that would only leave us with 26 league matches. So, it hasn't been finalized yet, but I think what's most likely is there will be some kind of balance table with some additional kind of rivalry or regional games to add on to that. As far as the Jaeger Cup is concerned, there was a handful of games for the Jaeger Cup this past year. I know there's been discussion, or I think there's a question on here, will the USL Championship be involved with League One in the Jaeger Cup? I think that's yet to be determined. I think it's safe to say that's the desire of the League One ownership, would be to play with the championship, but we don't have an answer on that yet. All right, we'll throw this one to Matt. Just like the European leagues, is there a fear of too many matches being played with the Jägermeister Cup and the Lamar Hunt competition, the U.S. Open Cup?
Obviously, our calendar is quite different from the European calendar, and most of our guys aren't full internationals. There's a lot of factors and variables that go into that question. But what I would say is that no. I mean, I think with the Jägermeister Cup and the Open Cup, it's more meaningful games. Anytime we can get more meaningful games and knockout kind of games. If you go back to the vibe that we had here when we hosted the semifinal against Charlotte, that had the feeling of a playoff game. Same with the Omaha game. That was a group game, a group stage game, but there was something to play for. The one where we drew 3-3 and won in penalties. That had a knockout game kind of vibe. So what I would say is the Jägermeister Cup is super valuable for us to play meaningful games. If it's against championship teams mixed in there, even better. And obviously the Open Cup is a historic competition that we'll always be excited to take part in. So no, I think we'll be building a roster that's capable of handling the breadth of a heavy fixture list, and we'll take it in stride.
I do think that maybe a point to bring up is that we built the roster. Matt built the roster with additional depth this past year, knowing that we were going to be playing in a cup competition alongside the regular season, and I think that worked out well, and I think that's a similar strategy as we look to 25. If Fort Wayne FC happens to move to USL League One, do you foresee yourself hiring a charter bus the same way you do to Omaha? It'd be lovely to see all of you again. No, it's Trevor. Hi, Trevor. We miss you. Yeah, it's within the range that we would bus, and we would welcome another team in the Midwest. I think there's another question in here somewhere that we promised that there would be more bus trips and more regional teams. Listen, we were promised too that there'd be a USL Central Division that was going to have 6 teams, and still waiting for that to come along. Hopefully in my lifetime we'll see that. But it would be great to have would be great to have Fort Wayne in League One, a nice regional rivalry for our fans. All right, hang on, long question here. In the past, you've mentioned the League One is the ideal fit for Forward Madison, to which I agree. Thank you, whoever you are. Given the upcoming addition of 5 teams and the departure of 3, what potential, if any, future changes in the league might prompt the club to reconsider moving to the championship? Is there a contingency plan for ownership divestment in such a scenario so that there are no conflicts of interest between Forward Madison and Milwaukee's future championship team? I continue to believe that League One is the right place for Forward Madison. Yes, there's been obviously some shakeup in the league, as a fan, I think you could read stories and see things and see cause for concern as a fan. I'm not concerned. The league's adding 5 good clubs. I think it's interesting. 2 of the clubs that are no longer in the league, I think they both have a desire to be in the league. It's not because I'm not going to get into the exact reasons, but they are both continuing to look to play soccer somewhere. So I feel good about our league. I think what's most important, candidly, is you guys and what we've built here together. This is a stable market. This is a stable club. We've been fortunate that we've always been at the top of the league in revenue. We feel good about the future of the club. We feel good about the future of the league. I think while it can be enticing to consider or have conversations about moving up to championship, candidly, I think a market of this size would struggle to support the budgets that are required in championship, both from a travel perspective, from a player salary perspective, and just the investment that's needed. Even from a facility standpoint right now, I think we would struggle. So I think, down the road, if there is pro rel, we'd love to join USL Championship that way. That would be a goal of ours. But as far as until there is pro rel, what league's best for us, ownership and I think the front office continue to believe that we're in the right spot. And I think we're excited about the 5 new teams coming in, and hope that they'll add positive things to the league, and hopefully there'll be continued growth. All right, several clubs around the world, St. Pauli in Germany being one of them, have moved away from the X platform due to increased spread of hateful rhetoric. Madison, like St. Pauli, has always had a message of acceptance and inclusivity against hate. Will the club move from X into something like Bluesky in the future? Well, we are on Bluesky. That is a move that our staff made quickly and something that's been a positive thing. As it relates to X, I think we can be clear that we don't, endorse or support hateful rhetoric or a message that's not inclusive. With that being said, a lot of our fans get their information about this club and have for many years since we've launched on X, and so our current plan would be to stay there as long as our fans are consuming our information there. It's a way for us to communicate with fans. But we think Bluesky is a great option as well. in addition to the other social media platforms we're on. How firm is the ownership? How firm is the ownership's commitment to Super League in Madison? Is there a chance with the desired updates to Breeze to support Division I soccer in the timeline of the Iron District? Is it possible that this team shifts to Milwaukee? I think we view women's soccer in Madison and Milwaukee as two separate things. It's not one or the other. I think Madison is a great women's soccer market, and I think Milwaukee will be as well. So we view it separately, and I think it's likely in the future for both markets. Will championship teams be joining the USL in the in-season tournament next year? With the U.S. Open Cup, will the U.S. Open Cup be a similar format to next year, or will more senior MLS teams be participating? Like I said, we hope championship joins. We don't have an answer on that quite yet. That's the desire of League One. We don't know what Open Cup looks like yet. All we know is that if there is an Open Cup, we'd like to participate in it. Nothing's changed there. I'll do a couple more of these, and I think we'll go to the crowd. What can we expect as far as fun new kits next season? Well, we finished our 2-year cycle on the home kit, so we'll be doing a new home kit next year. We plan to work with supporters and fans again on our away kit. And as far as the alternate's concerned, we'll continue to kind of push and be different. I just don't know what that holds. We will continue to do, I think Alyssa Bruce on our merchandise team did a really nice job with pre-match tops in community collaborations. We had a great Pride kit this year, which was really successful. Great Hispanic Heritage Month top, a mental health awareness month top in May. So we'll continue to do a lot of these cause-related pre-match tops that'll raise money for local charities. And I think we'll have one additional one next year that'll tie to one of our players and their specific heritage. The USL Championship continues to grow, and League One continues to be the same size. It's another championship question. Like I said, we're going to stay here for now. For Matt, with the player pedigree brought in at the start of 2023 and the experience this team has gained in the Cup and playoffs, how does the fact that this team's core has been there impact your goals for next season?
Yeah, the goals are going to be different for next season. The expectations are going to be different. The idea is to, again, retain a core group. So we have a group of guys who are aligned with our core beliefs, our non-negotiables, the things that we ask every day. My hope is that core group, and hopefully adding a few more even into that from as far as returning players go, my hope is that the strength in numbers there allows us to continue to grow. One thing that I said to the guys who are under contract when I met with them in our exit meetings was, how can we become a team where the players drive, where the players are driving the culture, a team where accountability is not coming from myself, the coaching staff. I would like it to be a little bit more holistic. I would like it to be a little bit more no nonsense. So an example that I gave was, maybe there's a situation next season where there's a new player in the club and he's not demonstrating our non-negotiables in a training session. A group of players saying, hang on a second, man, that's not what we do here. And rather than that coming from myself, JP, Neil, Jim, I think when the peer group holds the group accountable, you get more out of it. That's what you see from consistent winners. That's what we want to be now. So I think we've proved that we can win. I think we've proved that we can be competitive. I think we've proved that we can win big games. We've also lost big games. So sometimes in the big games, it's more what not to do. That's for me too, by the way. That's not just for the players, okay? It's a learning process. But for me, we will have a group that will be capable of competing for championships, and that has to be the next phase. The first part of it is retaining a core group as much as possible. The second part of it is with any progression, there needs to be change within that too. I think I wouldn't be doing my job if I turned around and said, okay, we're going to have 21 guys back again, because we didn't get the job done at the end of the day. We had an outstanding season that's taken nothing away from any of us. But what I'm saying is, for us to continue to evolve, there has to be change, and there has to be strategic change, and there has to be a higher demand. And that's what it's going to be. That's what it's going to be. So I hope that answers that question a little bit. The next one says, the team's performance on the field was outstanding this year, in my opinion. Our weak area was penalty shootouts. Goes without saying. No, I mean, fair enough. I mean, look, at the end of the day, what we do in penalty shootouts is, first and foremost, we look at the data. We look at the metrics. We look at who's taken them before in big games. We look at who takes them well in training. We keep a log. Jim's got a catalog of penalties. That's a stack on his desk, and we go through that first and foremost. At the end of the day, I make the final decision, so it's my responsibility if we lose in the shootout. Also, what I would say is we were in 3 penalty shootouts. We won 1 and lost 2. Okay, out of 15 penalties against, we saved 1. So that's not going to win you many shootouts. So we need to improve in that area. We only missed 2 out of 15. So we made 13 out of 15 penalties. That's generally pretty good. So I don't think we're far off. I don't think it was like a situation where we crapped our pants and missed a bunch of penalties. I think the other teams took their penalties well. We weren't able to save as many, and that's the game sometimes. And that's my bigger thing. What I would say as a preamble to that would be, can we score goals in regular time to not end up in that situation? And that for me, I would say was more of our issue this year. 6 draws at 0-0, I want to say. It's not going to get it done. So we got to increase our productivity on the attacking side of the field. We have to improve. We have to get, whether it's, that's something that the staff and I are going to do a deep dive into as far as from an analysis perspective. Are we accomplishing the objectives that we had set at the beginning of the season? Our XG was good. We were top 4 in the league. I think in total goals scored, we were 3rd in the league. So it's not like we're miles away. But yeah, we want to improve. We want to win those draws. We win those draws, maybe we're sitting here with a supporter shield, instead of finishing in 3rd. So and then maybe that confidence carries into the playoffs and so on and so forth. Hindsight's always 20/20. But I can assure you all that we are going to do, like we do every season, we'll do a heavy analysis on things that we felt went well. We'll look at the metrics, we'll look at the data. It won't just be knee-jerk. It will be thought out, and it will be data-driven. And we will look at our KPIs and we will say, okay, how can we get this thing better? So, long-winded answer to a pretty simple question, but.
You want to keep going?
Is there more? What do we got? I can't do the. Oh yeah. Can we get some boxes of popcorn at the stadium next year? That's above me. Yeah.
Yeah, there's about 3 popcorn questions, believe it or not. We might need to narrow what people can ask questions on. But popcorn's challenging with the turf. So we don't do popcorn because it gets stuck in the turf and it's tough to ever get out. There are pedestrian areas with turf. So we'll talk to our food and beverage team again, but that's kind of the main reason. We'll leave it there. What will the league do to reduce the chances for teams to fold? So listen, it's a challenging business model, and I think we all want to see growth. But I think in American soccer, there's 150 pro teams or something, and less than 10 are actually profitable. We're not there yet. We're lucky to have amazing fan support, good revenue, but on an annual basis, our expenses are growing at about 14-15%. Our revenue is growing about 8%, and that's just not a long-term path for success. So as it relates to what the league can do to reduce the chances of teams to fold, I think it's something we all need to kind of look in the mirror and think about. Clubs, players, the league, everyone involved. How do we make this more sustainable? Because there's a lot of really good things happening across the country, but the model isn't quite figured out yet. And so, I think it's all parties involved as we look to the future. How do we make this business sustainable? And how do we make sure that we keep these assets in the local community for a long time? So that'll be something at the Board of Governors meeting we have at the league next month. We'll be pushing on sustainability. And hopefully we can work with the league, the players, owners, to try and figure out a model that does sustain these clubs in a whole bunch of markets across the U.S. for a long time. A couple more, and then we'll go to the group. Can we please have another fantasy camp? It's been a challenge from a schedule perspective. We did a few of those a few years back. But if we can make it work, if we can find an open Saturday or Sunday from a schedule perspective, I think it has to be a Sunday actually, we'll try and do that again. All right. We didn't hear much about the fan-player interaction in the Chattanooga game. It was clear that Forward Madison fans put hands on a player. Were those fans suspended from attending the games? What's that? Yeah. So, hello, Omaha. Is this thing on? No, listen, yeah, there's an incident. We did our own internal investigation. The league, along with the Players Union, has done their own investigation. We did discipline a handful of folks, some on probation, some a suspension. It's been addressed with. It's not something that makes sense for us to go public on. You know, the morning after the incident, we quickly had a call with the leadership of the flock, and they were willing to engage and discuss it and took it seriously. And listen, nobody wants those type of things to happen. I think everybody involved handled it professionally from an outcome standpoint. It was addressed quickly and appropriately, and I think we'll put some measures in place to make sure it doesn't happen moving forward. But whoever's asking the question, you can be assured that we take it seriously. You can be assured that there was action taken on those involved, and I think all parties agree that we'll try and avoid that from happening again in the future. All right, let's go to questions to this group a bit, and we still have a whole bunch more. Hope nobody has a curfew, but yeah, no, I'm kidding. We'll go quick.
Going back to your question about sustainability, one of the things you talk about is finding ways to continue to grow sustainability. How do you personally, even in a philosophy standpoint, do you hope to continue to make Fort Madison more sustainable as we continue to go on with USL?
Yeah, I mean, I would say safely we're the most stable club. Not that others are unstable, but we've built something that we think is an asset both for the community, but has value as well. I think sustainability is an interesting question, but I think part of the way you get there is continue to invest. I think if you start pulling back in the investment you're making, both on field but also the fan experience, you're not going to be sustainable. So I think there's a couple things that we think we need to look to diversify our business. Looking at the women's game or other opportunities in the soccer space is appealing to us. And then also, I think we have to look at the non-Forward Madison business in this venue as well. Concerts, events, and otherwise will ultimately help support Forward Madison. So, we need to continue to invest. If we stop investing, I don't think that's a long-term plan for success.
Another question, if you don't mind. With the women's game coming to Madison, does that, adding that expense and the extra cost that it would have to another team, is that something that worries you about the trajectory of that sustainability, were you to not have one in particular? Can you repeat the question for the people online as well?
The question was about the women's game coming to Madison, or women's team potentially coming to Madison down the road, and what could that do to sustainability? Are we concerned about sustainability? I don't think, we wouldn't. A couple things need to happen for us to take that leap. One, the facility, but two, we need to have the proper funding and structure in place. So it's in no way a threat to Forward Madison. And we would set it up as a separate entity with a separate investment group from Forward Madison, so there wouldn't be any conflict or issue. Drew.
I think so. Yeah, no. The plan is to have those guys back. The plan is to have those guys back. Yeah, we're finalizing that. So we're very close. I'm very close with those two, especially with Jim as well. But Jim's sort of a Madison staple. He's not going anywhere. Even if I tried to drop kick Jim out the door, he'd fight me off. And no, but Jim's great. And the plan is to have JP and Neil back as well. And those guys are an important part of the way that we like to work and super important. So yeah, we're finalizing that at the moment.
Any other questions from the group, or should we get back into snacks? All right, Dave.
Matt, you mentioned player exit interviews, which, gosh, I would love to hear some of those. What themes did you notice in those player exit interviews that you thought, I got to talk to Connor about this?
Sure. Every exit interview is different because, for instance, sorry, the question was about how were the exit interviews with the players? What they entailed, and was there anything that I took away from them to maybe speak with Connor about? I was saying that the every exit interview is different, right? So there's guys who are under contract already. We had a handful of guys that are already guaranteed for next season. So the way that I approached that meeting is much more direct and much more objective and much more what the expectation is going to be. And those meetings were, I would say, by and large, geared towards what I mentioned earlier. How can we get 5 to 10% better so that when it's 0-0 against Spokane in a home semifinal, we have the belief that we're going to win that game without going to penalties. Or even if it goes to penalties, we have the belief that we're going to win that game. And it's less to do with X's and O's, in my opinion, and it's really more to do with character, and it's really more to do with believing in each other. And I think that was a big part of those meetings, I would say, by and large. With the guys that we're exercising options on or deciding not to, that's another pretty direct conversation. Similar, obviously, if we're not exercising a guy's option, it's very formal, and thanks very much. And we'll do everything we can to help you in your next opportunity. With guys who we are exercising, similar to if you're under contract, right, with the club option, the expectation is going to be the same as a guy who's already guaranteed. The guys who are out of contract are the ones that are more open. Those are the ones where generally I say, where's your head at? You know, we start that way, because when you're entering a negotiation or you're entering a situation where, regardless of whether I sort of internally want that player back or not, I'd like to hear what they have to say first. And what I've learned about doing those meetings is that you can learn a lot by what people say or what they don't say. And I think that is how those meetings go. And then we talk a little bit, depending on what their answer is, we go from there. So that's kind of how I decide to do it. We're all in there together, the coaching staff, myself, the player, and there's notes taken, and it's pretty formal most of the time, but I would say more informal for the guys that were under contract. Like, we went to Cargo Coffee with some of the guys that were under contract already, because, you know, some of the suspense is taken away, but it's more about just, I think, having a clear communication and dialogue about what needs to happen, and also they give us feedback too. It's not just me talking at them, especially, you know, with some of our more experienced guys. You know, I like to hear from them. And that's usually the stuff I'll go back sometimes and share with Connor if something interesting comes up, whether it be logistically related, player experience related, and that's that kind of stuff. But yeah, that's kind of how we decided to do it.
All right, we'll get back to the important stuff. Can we get more snack type items at the stadium? Popcorn, peanuts, Cracker Jacks, something more affordable than cheese curds or a pretzel. I sometimes get hungry in the second half. We'll get that to our food team, and we will see what we can do more in the snack selection. I'm not making these up, guys. These are here. We answer them all. We cover it all. All right, is there still potential plans for Pro Rel? Yeah, I think there is. I think there's still a desire to do that. I know we talked about the possibility in the Jägermeister Cup of championship becoming a part of it, and League One in playing with championship. If that does happen, I think that's the first step or a significant step towards Pro Rel. When it will happen, I don't know. I would say that the Pro Rel conversation probably sits more in the hands of the league and the championship owners than it does of the League One owners. I think the League One owners have discussed a lot internally and see positive there. We understand why there may be some hesitation on the championship side. I will say that, you know, League One clubs need to continue to elevate what we do, hold a high standard to what we do from a fan experience standpoint and from an on-field standpoint. And the better we do as a league, the better experience we provide, the better standard we hold. I think that'll continue to get the attention of the championship and eventually potentially get us in a spot where Pro Rel is a reality. All right, hopefully the last food one, but my all-time favorite right here. Can we get a better chip? 2 seasons ago, we had a kettle chip. We'll we'll address that. We'll get a better chip for next year. Miss Vicky's, we were going through these. Miss Vicky's might be a good fit. All right. Are there plans to change the calendar schedule, especially if the MLS and NCAA are planning on going down that route? Listen, we think that the current schedule fits Madison the best. We will always vote in what we think works as it relates to schedule. We'll always vote in what we think works best for this club. And we think the current schedule works best. A few years back, there was discussion about moving to a European schedule. That'd be really challenging in this market. And so that conversation is died down. And I don't think that that's on the horizon for the USL. Are there going to be any changes to the fan-accessible portions of the stadium? Yeah, we had a day-long strategic planning meeting today. We are working on some stadium improvements. I think where you're going to see a higher investment next year, or a bulk of our investment next year, is the game day experience. Whether it be pregame party type environment here. We've had success on our family days with face painters, balloon artists, petting zoos, those type of things. I think you may see that to be a more regular occurrence here at the stadium during our 19 home games next year, but you're going to see our investment more in the fan experience. I think we've done a really good job of connecting with soccer fans. We need to continue to get those that are maybe casual soccer fans to more games, and whether that be from entertainment for kids, entertainment for teenage type folks, or something for adults to come and enjoy and be entertained when they're not watching the game. I think that's where you're going to see most of our investment. We are doing some seating area upgrades along the field. We'll add some new seating areas right along the field that would include some food and beverage down in the Patterson side of the stadium, not in the Flock End side of the stadium. But really, I think you're going to see our investment being in trying to improve the game day experience. There is a question in here about the quality of the PA system, and that is on our list of things that need to be addressed and fixed in the I'm not sure fixed, but need to be improved in the 2024 offseason. In the town hall last year, we said that fourth or higher was the target for 2024. You delivered that, and job well done. What's the target for next year? Matt, do you want to answer that first?
Yeah, I think the target is top two, Supporter Shield, championship, Jägermeister Cup championship. I mean, that has to be the next iteration of this. So high ambitions, and yeah. And the thing I would say about that too, though, is just because you don't win a championship doesn't mean it wasn't a successful season, And I think it goes both ways. As people in this business, we always want to win. We want to win everything. We want to win every competition that we're in. But also we have to look back and say at times, and even going into next year, for me, a championship is going to be our aim for sure. But I wouldn't necessarily say, oh, the season's a wash if we don't win a championship. I think you have to put yourself in the position to win championships. But like I said before, we're going to be hungry and a little bit pissed off to go and try and get that done.
All right, what's something we're likely to see in 2025 that we may not expect or suspect? We're not going to share that today. We want there to be some surprises. I will say that I think we'll have some interesting things on the on-field, the roster side of things, some stuff that you might not expect. I think you'll see some stuff from in-stadium environment that you wouldn't expect as well. We don't have a schedule yet, but we expect to kick off in April. So come April, you'll find out what we have in store for next year. All right, this one's for me. Connor, your ticket prices have kept me from attending, which I would love to do more, even though I live in Peoria, Illinois. Will you have more ticket options in the $40 tailgate special like you had for the playoff game? I think there's a balance here, right? We want to continue to be affordable. There's several questions in here from season ticket holders on why should they continue to buy their season tickets when we're doing flock end tickets with beer specials that sometimes or that seem like better deals. I think that's a fair gripe as well. We have to walk that balance of figuring out how we continue to make the product affordable. At the same time, our season ticket holders are really the backbone of what we do, and we need to make sure that we continue to provide value for those season ticket holders. We try and do that through a merchandise discount, a regular discount on beers, $25 gift card, a variety of things. We need to continue to show value to our season ticket holders. Our renewal rates are very strong, so it does seem like people are seeing value there. But we do need to be more strategic on the offers that we make to make sure that season ticket holders don't feel like they're being slighted. And so that'll be something that we address for 25. But as far as this individual that's asking about ticket prices, we'll continue to try and do some aggressive offerings to get new fans in. I will say generally, as we look to 25 from a ticket price standpoint, as I mentioned, with the new teams in our league, we expect travel to go up at least $100,000. There's a lot of new teams that are a long distance from us. Our costs, both with minimum wage for the players related to the collective bargaining agreement and other costs, are going to continue to go up. But we're going to try and hold ticket prices about flat or really close to flat. We're going to have very minimal increases. We did take a significant increase as we went to 23 to 24. And we've listened and we've heard from fans, and we're going to do our best to stay really close to where we are for another season. And that's challenging on our side from a business perspective as costs grow. But we do realize that, economically, there's a lot of people, struggling right now and facing challenges, and we don't think it's the right time to be increasing ticket prices. So we're going to do our best to keep that as close to flat as possible across the board. All right, why have we not been scoring as much?
Yeah, like I said, I think we scored plenty of goals. Of course, we want to score more. The 0-0 draws are the ones that I think hurt the most. But when you look at the metrics in terms of longitudinally and in whole, we scored. I think we were third most in the league, third or fourth. If you count the playoff games, maybe second. So yeah, XG was good. Could be better. We gotta listen. At the end of the day, there's some moments even in some of our 0-0 games where we're getting in good areas and we're not hitting the target. I think in our final game we had like 16 or 17 shots, 2 on target. Just has to be better. Efficiency has to be better. So like I said, that's something. Some of that's decision making. Some of that's qualitative. That's stuff we'll dig into and certainly try to improve.
With 5 new additions to USL League One, what are the outlooks for the player market looking like? Does Forward Madison expect to lose many players to championship or retirement?
I wouldn't expect to lose many players to championship or retirement. Usually, we get one guy a year who retires. That's kind of par for the course. That's the same this year. We'll have one guy who's walking away from the game. Championship, you never know. You never know what's going to happen as far as the market goes. Usually, how it works in the championship is there's a trickle down, obviously, and the championship clubs are going after sort of the first 5 guys on their list in each position in the off season. Generally, there's maybe 1 or 2 League One guys in those conversations, I would say. Usually, where the League One players start to get looks from championship clubs is later in the window, later towards January, that window. So it's different every year. Time will tell. I don't anticipate us to lose too many. I could say maybe there's 1 or 2 guys who will have the chance to move up, and it's obviously something that we look at it in a positive light. When we're able to develop guys for higher levels and help them accomplish their goals and get to the highest level that they can get to. We look on that from a player development standpoint as a win for us. So as much as we want to retain our quality, we want the best for the players as well. So there's a lot of factors, but I would expect us to have a similar demographic as far as our roster for next year with some needed change. With some needed change, and it's early yet to say if that's going to mean younger, if that's going to mean we're going to target certain regions for player acquisition. We have to cast a broad net in League One. We'll continue to do that and try and get the best quality that we can get.
All right, West Coast USL fan asking on the plan timetable to address the lack of teams in the West, potential future expansion rumors. I know the league is focused on the West. It's a long way from here, so they do want more travel partners for AV Alta in Spokane. I don't have the exact timeline, but we'll be at 14 teams next year, and I think the league is hoping they can add 2 to 3, maybe 4 teams for 2026. Question for me, not Ford Madison related, but can we get an update on Milwaukee Pro Soccer? Is the project still moving forward? Yes, the project is moving forward. We expect to have some news by the end of the year. We've made some progress on the actual stadium design. We continue to work on branding, but the project is very much moving forward. And like I said, I think we'll have some news by the end of the year. What progress have you made towards replacing the pitch? And will it happen before the upcoming season? So we are working, City of Madison facility, Breeze Stevens Field will be 99 years old next year. The turf will be 11 years old next year. So we are working with the city. It won't be a project for 25, but it will likely be a project for 26 that we're working with the city to try and get it replaced. It is reaching or at kind of the end of its useful life, and definitely something we need to do. Matt agrees. We did train off-site a lot this year at Madison College to try and preserve the guys' legs a bit, and it'll be something we'll continue to look to do. There was a question here, too. I might have skipped over. Would Breeze Stevens Field ever go to a natural grass surface instead of artificial grass surface? Studies I've seen suggest a rate of lower extremity injuries being higher. Yes, this is JP. John Pasquarella, I think, put this question in the chat. But no, given the climate we're in, given the amount of games we play and the amount of events we hold here, real grass just won't work. And so we will always, at least for the foreseeable future, be a natural turf or artificial turf facility. Bathrooms, especially women's. Long question here, but asking for some upgrades and making comments on the women's bathrooms. That's something we discussed at the staff meeting today, something we absolutely need to address. There is a question about gender-neutral facilities. We do have gender-neutral facilities in here, and we're going to work to see what we can do to add additional gender-neutral facilities, but we do have a few spots already with gender-neutral facilities. And then kids area, will there be a better area for kids to play on during matches? We're limited by space. This great old stadium, 99 years old, but it is restricting from a space perspective, especially when we get 4,500 people, 4,000 to 4,500 people in here. So we don't have a ton of room to do like a big mini pitch or a lot for kids, but we are going to invest in more entertainment and more things to keep kids busy if they can't sit or don't want to sit for 90 minutes of the match. All right, I think we've pretty much covered everything. Is there more questions from the group? Dave.
Considered looking at a membership model like we see in the German leagues for additional revenue that could be plugged into additional business sides of it, like athletic club and stuff like that, that you could be and develop revenues that way with a membership piece. And then the second question I have as a follow-up, if you would indulge me, is where are we building the trophy case next year, guys? Where's it going? Where are we putting it? Right over there?
I think it should go in here somewhere. Yeah, it should go in here. The question is, where's the trophy case going? I'm the kind of person that would build it once we have the trophy. Don't want to get too far ahead of ourselves, but I think somewhere in this room would fit, or it could even have a room maybe. So yeah, in here for sure. Somewhere that you guys will be able to see it frequently. First question is on sustainability. Have we considered a membership model or something more like a European club? It's a bit more complicated here in the U.S. with some U.S. Soccer and USL regulations. It's not something we've considered. I think it is something we have more, we've thought more about on the women's side. And it's I think, a little easier to do when you start fresh with a new organization and more of a public ownership model or actual membership model where fans can be engaged in the actual investment in the club, but potentially the eventual the direction of the club as well. So that is something that we've discussed on the women's side. Not something we're prepared to take to market, but you know, as we see what other clubs do across the U.S. and beyond, it is something that's a topic of discussion internally amongst the ownership group. Mitch, is this your first question, Mitch?
Amazingly.
Yeah, all right. 40, what are we,
I'll
52 minutes in.
Yeah, I'll throw you out a softball question first.
Jeez.
Where are, speaking of trophies, where are the Handy Derby Trophy and the Astonishingly Shiny Cup of All Cups?
The astonishingly shiny Cup of All Cups is above our fridge in the office. You know, a place for the staff to admire on a daily basis. I don't know where the Henny. You guys should know where the Henny.
No, the Handy Derby.
Oh, the Handy Derby.
With Langston.
It's around. Yeah, it's around. Dan.
I have a question for Matt. Matt, like, I'm curious how you get everyone aligned around your vision. Like, there has to be times when everyone is in different areas or has conflicting points of view. And watching you grow from like coming into this and what this is now, growing up every year. How do you get everyone aligned around a vision, even when maybe your coaching staff disagrees or some of your players disagree? Like, talk to me a little bit about that.
That's a great question.
I think we got to repeat it real quick.
Oh,
So,
yeah. How do I get everyone aligned around my vision and get people bought in? And is that the gist of it? Get people bought in and moving in the same direction? Oh, it's a great question. And if I had like the solution, like the you know, like I probably wouldn't be sitting here. But what I would say is like, what I would say is that it's a constant like progress. It's a constant like work. It's a constant effort. And it's never like okay, like everyone's bought in now, like we're good. Like it's always like it's fluid, man. Like the players, like we all have our opinions. Everyone has their opinion. What I really try to do, Dan, is like let people be themselves, as long as we're following the non-negotiables. Like we have these core beliefs, and that's kind of like everything that we try to, the decisions that I make. You know, do I treat people the way I'd like to be treated? I try to do that. You know, I'm not always able to do it, but I do it as best as I can. Same with the staff. You know, and I think if we have that, if we have something to work off of, right? You can always go back to that, right? So then when there's a disagreement, right, whether it's on the field and someone wanted the ball but they didn't get it, that's going to be a disagreement. I can't solve that. But if they didn't run back and defend for the team after they didn't get the ball, then we have a problem because that's a non-negotiable. And so that's the way that I try to do it. That's with the staff. I think the reason why the staff and I get along so well is because I let them work. You know, we're collaborative. You know, we argue in there for hours. I mean, you can ask the office staff. We're in there arguing for hours a day, whether that's about player selection, training sessions. You know, JP and I are getting into it about how hard practice should be. He's got a master's degree in tactical periodization, so he wins a lot of those arguments. You know, but that's what it has to be. You know, that for me, that's what it has to be, because then everybody has some skin in the game. You know, the players too. I want to hear from the players. You know, we have an open door policy. And I think it's, at the end of the day, for me, what I try to do is treat people the way I'd like to be treated. What I try to do is treat players with respect. And even when there's a decision that they don't like or they don't agree with, it's okay. For me, I always tell the guys, it's okay. You don't have to agree with me. You don't have to agree with me. But what you have to do is come in and be a good teammate tomorrow. You have to come in and be a professional tomorrow. Because if it affects your mood, your behavior, how you train, and what you do for the team, then we're going to have a problem. And so I try to really like set those guidelines as like how we do things, and I hope that carries over. And I think for the most part, like we've also done a good job of identifying, for the most part, the right type of people who align with what we want to be. So there's always going to be, everyone's different, everyone's an individual, but we've really tried to be objective and intentional about who we bring to the team, who we retain. And make it so that they're in line with those things, because that's, at the end of the day, we can't always control like if we score a goal or not, or if we win the game. but we can control our behaviors. We can control if we're doing the core, if we're aligned with the core beliefs and the non-negotiables. So that's how I try to do it.
Thank you.
Yeah, good question.
Tara?
Congratulations on your multi-year extension.
Thanks.
Your marketing team is amazing. Have you thought about doing anything with a crossover with the Mallards and the Nightmares? There are some of the same people that work at both stadiums. Is there something that we could do that for more fan engagement as well?
Yeah, I think that was actually a topic of discussion today, and something we'll continue to explore, how we collaborate and work together, and if there is some kind of crossover there. There is, being parts of different leagues and one being pro, the other not being pro, there are a few complications with it, but it is something actively being discussed. So we appreciate that idea. All right, Mitch.
Question for
And then,
Matt. Set pieces continue to be a struggle for us to convert. We got 6 across all competitions last year. Other teams are getting 10 to 15 regularly, and this is an improvement from previous years, the 6. But is there any sort of plans to improve that from going into that 10 to 15 range going forward?
Yeah, for sure. We'll reassess it. It's something that.
sorry, the question was on set pieces.
Yeah, can we be better on set pieces? Yes, we can. We can for sure. We do need to evaluate. We need to evaluate the delivery. We need to evaluate who's taking them, when they're taking them, how often they're taking them, and look, part of our generally the profile that we have for players hasn't necessarily been, all right, we've got to go get 6'5" guys across the board to attack set pieces. Maybe that needs to be implemented into what we do. Obviously, the way that we play and our identity and the way that we want to do things has a type of player that we attract to come to the club. I think part of the set piece discussion is also in tandem with like an aerial duel discussion, like where we can improve in that category as well, right? Winning our duels, winning our aerial duels, and so I think part of that is, I think a big part of that is personnel related and who you bring into the club. I've also taken the stand of maybe, I think in League One what needs to happen sometimes is you're not going to get like the Virgil van Dijk, who's 6'5", super athletic, can defend 1v1, and also like one of the best passers in the world. So like for us, sometimes I take some risk in certain areas of the game, and set pieces is probably like, we're probably about 6 foot across the back line if we're being generous with a few guys, 6'1", 6'2", so we're not like a massive team. I think that's part of the set piece discussion. I think part of it is delivery, and I think part of it is us putting more time and effort into it to really wanting to improve it as a group collectively. Because, for instance, Neil could put out a set piece play that he's drawn up that makes total sense on paper, and I know this because I was a set piece coach in MLS. You can put the play out, and then 3 or 4 guys are standing in the wrong place, and then, all right, the play doesn't work, And so part of that is making sure that, again, it goes back to recruitment, getting people in the door that are going to be switched on in every moment, and just trying to maximize everything. At the end of the day, if we finish and we're not in the negative in set pieces, it's decent. But yeah, I would like to be +10. Like you mentioned, I think that can be a way that we can improve things.
Over here. Yes.
Yeah, thanks. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah.
Just a great comment to keep doing what Matt's doing, and shared the experience of his son over the last 3 years, and how rather than drag him to the game, had to drag him home. And that's what we want to hear. That's why we do this, and to hopefully get people out here having a great experience. We appreciate you sharing that. I think, is there a question over this way? Jeff?
Yeah. I know you said that the city's not so distracting, you're well for
Great question on our thoughts on inaugural first year of the USL Super League. I think I think there's definitely been some positive moments there. I think looking from afar, it's always great when you don't have to be the first one. So it's great that we can watch others kind of be the guinea pig a little bit and try it out. When League One started, we were one of the first ones. I think clubs that are coming in now, 6 years later, are coming in. They're probably paying a higher franchise value, but they're coming in in a more developed, more stabilized, more experienced. They've kind of been able to come in learning from our lessons. So we like the idea of joining down the road once we can see what's worked and what hasn't. But I think there's definitely been some positives. I think as any startup league, I think there's been some challenges. And I think if you look at a lot of the challenges, they're around facilities, and it's all about having the right facility. And that's what is driving our timeline here. Is that you only have a chance to do one opening day. You'll only get one chance at an opening day. We want to make sure that when we do it, that the facility is in the proper condition to support it. Because if you look even across the league, League One, Super League, or across American soccer, the clubs that are struggling to sustain, a lot of times it's tied to a facility and not having the proper facility, not having a facility they control or a permanent facility that allows you to fully monetize everything that comes with hosting a game. So really the driver for us is making sure we get the facility right. And once the facility's right, we're ready to make that leap. Mitch and then Noah.
All right. Hardball question for you.
Uh-oh.
So a certain former USL ownership group filed a lawsuit against USL. In that lawsuit, in the publicly available docs, they mentioned that the runner-ups of the Jägermeister Cup received $25,000. Number one, is this true? And number two, if it is true, is there anywhere specific that money is being earmarked for or has already been spent?
I don't think the league will allow me to comment on a lawsuit. I think what I can say is that there was a runner-up prize. That runner-up prize didn't quite cover our travel to get to the game. So that's where it went. But yeah, I mean that's the honest truth. So yeah.
Kind of question on that sustainability and the travel component with the team being aggressively bringing in 5 new teams, but in regions that are equally as distant as the current teams. How do they prorate the travel reimbursements or stipends or sustainability model for teams like us in a bit of a Midland island to actually function?
Yeah, the question was with 5 new teams coming in far locations from here, what is done from a travel reimbursement or stipend standpoint for the clubs? There's no such thing as travel reimbursement or stipend. We cover all of our travel. There's no assistance as it relates to that. So, the league, at their own choosing, gets to select who joins the league. It's not an owner's vote. We don't have any. It's a franchise model, so it's up to them to do that. It's good that there's more teams in the league, but the location of those teams really can be expensive, especially for us. Madison, regional airport, challenging to fly out of at times. Great airport. We're lucky to have a great airport here, but challenging to fly out of it at times, or at least find proper flights to get to a bunch of other regional markets. So, like I said, we expect our travel. The last budget we did, our travel is up about $100,000 next year over this year, just based on the new clubs in the league. And with losing Lexington, we'll lose a bus trip. So yeah, Omaha will be our only bus trip.
Question for Matt. Can you elaborate on the coaching philosophy for scheduling multiple home games during weather-related events?
Yeah, we really try to just align with the universe's vision of weather patterns. No, I mean, it was, there were some tough ones this year. That hadn't happened, I don't think, since I've been here in the last couple of years. So, yeah, we're a little bit unfortunate with some weather stuff. But, yeah, we want to play home games, and, yeah, hopefully the soccer gods are kinder to us in terms of some of the weather delays as we move forward.
Oh.
Can you talk anything about TV contracts in USL, like ESPN Plus or CBS? Anything changing that you can say or no?
The question is on TV contracts in the USL, ESPN Plus, or CBS or Galazzo. Is there anything changing? I believe I should know this, but I think, for the first time we were on CBS Sports Network in Galazzo. We had a handful of games on Galazzo. There's a 4-camera shoot, definitely a positive thing. For the first time this year, we had a nationally televised game, being on ESPN2, which was a great crowd and I think a great experience and great to showcase our fans, but showcase the city as well. I think, I know the CBS deal will continue moving forward. It's a multi-year deal. I think the expectation is that there is some relationship with ESPN Plus moving forward. But yeah, I mean, as far as we're concerned, I think it's important that our games are accessible to our fans at a relatively low cost, whether it be ESPN Plus or the Paramount platform. And we are going to, a goal for next year, we had, I think, 8 games on local television. We'll work to try and grow that, or at least put more focus on that. We see local broadcast TV as being part of the longer-term future and something we need to focus on. And so as we look to 25, that will definitely be something we'll continue to put more time and effort into. Noah.
Another question from a viewer. When will the 2025 USL League One schedule be released?
The question is, when will the 2025 USL League One schedule be released? You can send all of your questions on that to the USL League One. If you want to, Leo Neal, I think, is who you know. That's not fair to Lee, but I don't know. I think the hope is by the end of the year we'll see a schedule, and as soon as we can get that to our fans, we will. The question is on off-season events. There's a holiday party in the past. I don't think our season ticket folks have announced that yet, but we will have a holiday party. I think December 19th is tentatively the date for that. I think we'll look to program the space a bit for whether it be the holiday party or other season ticket member events. Before we know it, the guys will be here with the extended season this year. Before we know it, the guys will be here. And we'll be, getting ready to kick for 25. Do you have a question?
One quick one. Noticing middle of the season towards the flock end, kind of by the portable restroom area, the flock end area kind of shrunk a little bit towards where the Tifo, or not Tifo, but the Vamos Flamingos. I noticed that kind of right around the Tormenta game and national schedule game, that became more suite seating. Is that planned to stay suite seating next year, or would there be a chance that it comes back to being more flock-ended?
Yeah. Are you saying down on the other side of the suites? The question was, I think the plan will be to keep the flock end on the Brearley side of the stadium. And anything that's on the East Washington side, we'll continue to, not all of it, but the majority of it continue to use for hospitality-related activities. All right, any other questions?
One regarding pro referees, that fantastic organization that we all aspire to be like. Can you shed some light on how many official complaints were lodged from the team's perspective and the league's perspective against that organization? And how that process works? How do you get feedback on that?
You got to repeat the question.
Oh, sorry. The
This is a fun one.
the question
I should do
was
it to
about
make
the
sure.
pro referee organization. Were there complaints that the team filed, or that that we're aware of that the league filed? The answer is, honestly, for us, for me, I do that. I do that stuff, which is super fun. But it was actually quite a bit down from last year. So generally, what they did was Pro, the Pro Referee Association that assigns all of our referees, they will do a seasonal recap probably here in the next month before the end of the year. And what they do is I hope they do it again because they did it last year. And essentially what you can do is you can go through and see how you stack up as far as like missed KPIs. And the way that Pro really looks at when mistakes are made are through what they refer to as KPIs, okay? And so, sorry, KMIs, key match incidents, not KPIs. Key match incidents. And so, for instance, if we get a goal disallowed that's called offsides, and we go back and see the video and see that it's not offsides and the goal should have stood, that would be a KMI, right? So last year, I don't know if you guys remember the Knoxville game last year, we had a ridiculous goal called back. That was an example of a KMI. Last year, we were the team with the most missed KMIs in League One, which I think was probably pretty evident for everyone who came to our games. This year, we've had two. I want to say we've had more than 2 KMIs that I reported, but there was only really a couple and they were more related to player injury stuff, like when Devin Boyce got his nose broken in the Richmond game by an elbow. It wasn't addressed. Then same thing happened to Murphy in the Omaha game. That one got addressed. So I would say that on a whole, from my perspective, it's actually improved. I would say that. I would need to, I think, see the metrics from the season and kind of look back and say, okay, has it really improved? It felt like, maybe it's just because we're winning more, maybe that's why. But it did feel like, I think there was a lot of KMIs. Like we had a guy, I won't go into it. I probably shouldn't. There was a lot of missed KMIs last year, and this year I think there was closer to like less than 5, I would say. So, yeah.
I think the one other comment on officials, I think this is a challenging environment for officials to officiate in, especially when we have big games, whether it be a cup game or an Omaha game. The environment here is different. We're lucky, but it's different than most places across the league. And so the pressure, 1, the proximity of the fans, 2, the noise of the flock, but 3, just the pressure on an official is different in our games, especially with certain rivals. It seems like with Omaha this year, last couple of years with Northern Colorado, we had a handful of kind of testy matches, competitive matches. There was a scenario this year where we got the match assignment, the referee assignment the week of the match, and it would have been an official's first professional match. And that's something that we addressed with the league. The league did a great job of working with Pro, and within 24 hours, they assessed the situation, realized that it was an important game for the clubs involved in a heated environment, and made a change there. So it's Matt's job to comment on KMIs and the actual officiating. The only time I get engaged is if the club feels like they're putting an official in a position where he or she is not in a position to succeed. And a lot of that's with the assignment, given our environment or who we're playing against. And they have been fairly responsive on that.
Yeah.
I will say, too, anytime we call, they pick up the phone.
Yeah.
I mean, I give them a lot of credit.
Yeah. There's been a progression. Like I have to say, there's been a progression. Hopefully that continues to happen because there's still room for growth. But yeah.
Should leave it at that. Yes, sir. Yeah, the question was, how's the Futures program going, and what is the future with the Academy as it relates to the USL or otherwise? Aaron Holbein has been leading our Futures program. It continues to build, continues to be positive. While we feel good about it, it's a supplemental thing. It's not a full-time or a dedicated thing. And there's not an active academy here in Madison, an academy program. And so I wouldn't say that that's an immediate, that's not on our 2025 list, but I think it is something that we realize there's a void in the market. From are the best players in Madison, both men's and women's, being served right now? And a lot of those best players are leaving the market to go to Milwaukee, Chicago, Minnesota, otherwise. So we identify that. We see that as an issue, as being the pro team in Madison. We want the best talent to stay home. And it's something that we're working to try and develop a plan for long term, but not something that we have an immediate plan But we are going to continue to try and increase what we do in the future space, and really lucky to have Aaron leading that program and helping out on the first team. I think
not
December,
tonight, yeah.
December 1st and on, we can disclose that. As much as we'd like to, we just we're still in that process. But in December, I think you'll see the announcements starting to roll out. Well, the question was, can we address who is returning? And we just, for a variety of reasons, just have to wait till December to actually go public on that. Question is, when will the new kits be released? It's a good question. Alyssa stepped out, but you'll probably see, probably do the home kit first in February. Mid-February would be my guess on the home kit. You'll see the away kit probably 1 week or the week before our first road match. And then alternate would probably be sometime over the summer. We're just starting. I've got some planning going on the home kit, and yeah, we're a little ways out. Yes?
Any comments on the relationship with Hummel over the years? It seems like it's been a good relationship. From your perspective, do you have any thoughts?
Yeah, the question is the relationship between Forward and Hummel. We expect Hummel to continue to work with Forward. And just, I guess, in a transparency and disclosure standpoint, myself and a few other partners are involved with Hummel across North America. And we've been fortunate to have some good people, in that space helping. And, it's been a good thing. I think Forward was the first pro club with Hummel. And now there will be, I think, close to 20 in the USL next year. So it's really been a good thing for Hummel, but also for Forward as well. Dave?
Yeah, speaking of other business relationships and partnerships, clubs historically had a relationship with Eintracht Frankfurt. Wondering if there are any changes to new partnerships or existing partnerships that you guys are working on for this year.
Yeah, the question was on partnerships. We've had a relationship with Eintracht Frankfurt for 5 years now, I think. We'll continue to do that on the youth side of things. And they've been a great partner, and it's been great. It's been really focused on camps and clinics. As it relates to other partnerships, I think we wouldn't be doing our job if we weren't exploring other opportunities to improve the roster. And so we wouldn't be doing our job if we weren't having these conversations to explore other partnerships. We don't have anything to report today, but as we work towards 2025 and figure out how we put the most competitive roster on the field as possible, we need to consider a variety of different ways to do that. Noah? Any friendlies in the works? Well, our hope would be to play our friends at the University of Wisconsin again, like we always do. It looks like, given the current, while we don't have a schedule or the exact number of games from the USL yet, but we have gone to a 19-game season ticket pack. So it does look like we'll likely need a few friendlies to fill that. We'll get going on friendlies once we have a schedule. It's hard to make much traction on a friendly, not knowing where your gaps it's hard to make traction until we know where the gaps in the schedule are. So as soon as we get that schedule, we'll start looking at friendlies. But yeah, I would expect 3 friendlies this year, 1 including the University of Wisconsin, hopefully. Any other questions? I want to thank everybody for taking all the time, an hour and 22 minutes with us. Appreciate you guys being here. We're so fortunate to have this amazing support. We've had it since day one. Andrew Schmidt reminded me last night that 6 years ago, yesterday, was when we rolled out the Forward Madison logo. I remember not sleeping the night before. We were going with a pink logo, and I was a big part of that. I wasn't sure that was the right thing to do. it sure as hell has been the right thing to do. And your support since that day and even before then, we're grateful for your amazing support. Thank you for being with us all season. And here's to 25 and a better season than we had this year. Thank you.
Thanks,
Appreciate
guys.
it.